All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next segment. We are with Mondo Homunculero, and he's going to talk to us about some magic things.
Okay, so we've kind of had a little bit. Oh, by the way, it's Mondo again. Um, we've had a little bit of introduction to where I come from with this, and the origin of the word actually comes from Persian, from the Magi, which that's what they called themselves, but it didn't necessarily mean that they were doing anything that was sleight of hand or sleight of mind. They were just like part of the upper class. So in the beginnings, actually, that type of magic, when you're getting into more advanced civilizations in the ancient world, magic was largely done by priests in religions. It was also done by independent sorcerers and shaman. But we're going to go back even further. They probably came from the Neolithic peoples, the new Stone Age peoples, or even Stone Age peoples, maybe even Neanderthals, sitting around the fire at night and attempting to will outcomes into being. In other words, attempting to will what they wanted to happen by using little rituals. And back then a lot of it was probably animism. In other words, they're worshiping the spirit of everything, in the land and in the animals and in the elements.
Okay, like the Native Americans.
Yeah, well, even the roots of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the Native Americans are like that. The Siberians are like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're very similar people to Native Americans in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Your Eskimo type people,
Yes.
Okay.
they're like that. Even the Laplanders, the really way out there white or Aboriginal people in Scandinavia, the Laps.
Okay.
Yeah, and so that's where this whole thing kind of began to originate. And then it turns into tribes, and in tribes you eventually have either witch doctors or shaman. And so now a lot of people know all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things you can read on the internet about all this, and I've done a whole lecture series on shamanism before, but that's not what we're going to do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because that's after if we want to do something like that, we'd do it later on, after we've had a couple more little lectures. So magic itself, once again, to reiterate what we said before, from where I come from with that, is causing change in accordance with your will. So in other words, being able to do something outside of, just physical elbow grease to get something done, sweat equity, in other words, to have an idea of what you want to happen and to turn that into an intention. And in this vein of thinking, the attention goes into the subconscious mind where the work is done. Because the conscious mind only works so many hours a day. The subconscious mind is 24/7.
Okay.
So when you put the intention, like, it is my will that it will be 5 degrees cooler tomorrow. Okay, now we can pick apart how that's not really a good one, but it is my, and then to place that somehow in the subconscious area. Well, how do we do that? Well, we do that usually with some form of ritual or gnosis, like getting high, maybe drawing a picture of what we want to happen, then turning that into a symbol
Okay.
called a sigil.
Okay.
But once again, sigil magic would be up the road here a little bit. It's pretty cool stuff. I've been doing it for a long time, and there's, if you look around the house, after I familiarize you with it, you'll be, oh, they're all over the place here.
Right.
So, and what they are, they're intentions of things that we want to happen. Okay, so that basically is a form of what we call enchantment. I used to give this lecture on the 6 realms of magic. And it's from a chaos magic perspective. It was developed by Peter J. Carroll and some other guys over in the UK back in the late 70s, early 80s. And anyway, so enchantment is one of those realms. And then we have divination, like using tarot cards to figure out what's going to happen. Then we also have invocation, which is like talking to a god or the gods and asking them for something, maybe get some of their qualities imbued in us. And then we also have evocation. Now, evocation is where we create our own entity to do things for us in this vein. It could also be evoking spirits like out of the Goetia, the Key of Solomon, where there's all these demons, which most of those are really old gods that have been kind of ignored. Okay. Yeah, most of the old demons. So that's, that, but I don't use that very much, and some people do, and they like it, and they like to fuck around with all that. And to me, it's like, why would I use somebody else's toilet paper? It really gets to be that level, because every time Joe Blow calls up Demon A, right? Uh-huh. And then Susie Cream Cheese calls up Demon A, and then Fred Fuckface calls up Demon A, and they all do different stuff with them. The whole idea is that in the spirit realm, Demon A is picking up all this shit. Uh-huh. And it might pollute him. Okay. It might make him tainted, in other words. Okay. So if I just want 5 cooler degrees tomorrow, for example, then I want a demon who can do that. Okay. Or I want to make my own. Okay. I want to make my own entity which will go and do that. Okay. For instance, when you walk in the front door, you see a painting on the wall. Right. Do you see that? Yeah. It's like a chimera. It's got different animal heads on it and different animal parts for its body. Yeah. Okay. That is an entity that 3 other guys and myself made. Oh, wow. And it's part of the egregore that's up on the the shelves there. Mm-hmm. You've seen that. It's a box and it's got the weird statue in it with the frog fucking the fucking the universe. That's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. Bit. And that so the painting on the wall, that is for fetching things and getting things, picking up things. Okay. In fact, I've got it on a task right now. And then the runner of the show of all that is up there on the shelf. Okay. And that entity has a lot of different capabilities. It's been imbued with a lot of different abilities. It's like the house god. Okay. Cool. But it answers to me. I have the lowdown with that one. All right. Yeah. And so it does my bidding, in other words. I use it for a lot of different stuff. And then there's the different fetches, like that one you see there. That's Dorag. There's Dorag, and then there's one called Pwid, okay. And then there's Gremlin. Okay. So I have these different fetches to do different shit.
I like the movies.
Gremlins was a good movie. Don't feed them after midnight. So basically, I used Gremlin to antagonize Donald Trump. I sent, well, and a lot of other people did similar stuff. There was a bunch of stuff going on out there in the cyber magic realm.
Or they just mailed him a letter.
You could do anything like that. You could take a picture of him and put it, nail it to a tree, and every day put another nail in it. Mm. Yeah, for 9 days. Yeah, that's voodoo though. So see, that's we're talking about enchantment here, casting spells. Yeah. Getting shit to happen from your own, from your own subconscious, that type of thing, and then, and we've got to evocation, which is making the entities and getting them to do shit rather than calling up what we call OPE, other person's entity. Mm-hmm. Rather than that, unless it's one that's pretty pure and pretty clean and hasn't been shit on by 10,000, by 2 million people. Right. Okay, so then there's another realm. Okay. Which is called illumination. And illumination is where you're trying to gain greater insight into whatever. Illuminate. Yeah. Like if you want to become more insightful of the information stream of the universe, for example.
Right. From point A to point B.
Whatever you want it to be.
Right.
Nice.
It could be just a general illumination.
Right.
Okay. Now, and there's different ways to do that. You meditate.
Yes.
You can work up a special ritual with meditation.
I'm actually illuminating enchilada thoughts.
You can illuminate with our friend cannabis.
Since Jamie made some.
You could use cannabis for illumination. You can use psilocybin for mushrooms, for illumination.
Every day.
Yep. You can use LSD. You can use Molly.
Little girl named Molly.
Or you can do physical exercise to the point of having massive endorphin release.
Zumba.
A lot of ways. I think there's a book over there. It's like 70 ways to get high without drugs.
Book of
Yeah.
highs.
Yeah.
Would having sex count?
Yeah. That's
What?
Would having sex count?
So,
Fuck yeah, that counts.
so illumination is pretty connected to getting high with a lot of people.
Okay.
Nowadays. Okay. Or it could be dancing around in a room with, a sackcloth on in a cave, with a fucking little fire going. It could be anything like that. And then finally we have the dark night of the soul.
Oh.
Okay.
And that is where you go and you undergo a complete dismantling or destruction of your ego.
That'd be nice.
Well, I did it.
Oh wow.
I've done it twice, actually.
Twice.
Yes, twice.
Okay.
I did it once about 30 years ago, and then I did it again, 12 years after that.
It's like a reset.
Yeah, it was totally, we just made it up just to do it. I just did it just to do it because why not? Sometimes like, oh, that's pretty random. Let's fucking do it.
Our buddy DJ sent me on a trip for like a weekend, and then you get involved with his group like afterwards, and it's for goes through like rite of passage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Rituals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I did a sweat lodge, and
Oh yeah.
it was one of the more interesting things that I've done. I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't
No.
want to ruin the experience. It's called the Mankind Project.
Yeah. I know who that is. Yeah.
And it was a really good experience. I learned a lot.
See, that's what we would call an initiatory experience.
Yeah.
That's initiation, where you can actually have a dark night of the soul. You could do an illumination.
Right. We did shadow work,
Yep.
and that was pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool stuff. So there you have it. There's the realms of magic that you could work in. Some people are an old boring sorcerer like me, and all I do is fuck around with evocation and occasional enchantment and divination fairly regularly.
Cool.
I have different tools I use for divination. I like that because the way I view that little set of exercises, of which there are many more than I would ever know, is to find out possible futures, possible presents, and possible pasts. We found that in doing our work in the order I come from, over the years we found, from borrowing from others, of course, that we can actually go back in time and change some little tiny thing. But first of all, we have to find out what it is we need to change so we can have the outcome today
Nice.
or in the future.
Okay.
So we go back in time and change something.
So is that why a lot of people get deja vu a lot?
It could be.
Because I get that shit like a few times a week.
It
Like,
could be.
strong.
Wow.
It could be. It's not really necessarily tied to that, but deja vu could be a part of that experience. Deja vu is an interesting phenomenon. Okay, it's a very interesting thing. And that's probably because there's something I want to recommend to everybody to watch on YouTube if you have time. There is a neuroscientist who's also a computer scientist and an expert on game theory. His name is Dr. Donald Hoffman. And I just listened to a podcast he was on. It wasn't maybe a week old or so. I've been listening to him for a while now. And he was looking at reality. He said, is reality even real?
Yeah.
And are we living in a simulation? No, but a simulation is a physicality, so it doesn't work.
Right.
Right. Okay, so did you watch that? Have you watched that?
I was actually, I think I was watching exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Don Hoffman is his name.
This is on YouTube, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think I was watching.
Oh, it's fucking great.
Okay.
It's fucking great because when you think about it, and he said this, he goes, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. He says, but I've set up all these little, he calls them icons, right? Because his model of his analog of everything is we're all a simulation on a computer screen. So and we have all these icons, and the icons are like different shit, like the scientific one, or like survival mechanisms that we have. These are all just ways that we view what's going on around us to give us results to survive and ultimately to reproduce.
Okay.
Because that's the goal, biological goal of all organisms, is to reproduce. That's why we are here. And it's his work's really interesting. I highly recommend that people get into it and do it because it's a lot of fun to listen to. And he has debates with people and they all think he's nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Like he debates with these cosmologists. The guys that have figured out, the Big Bang and all this series of events and all that. And they think Don's nuts.
I think he's nuts.
But
Wow.
they do. Well, this guy's mathematical. He is fucking great. I love that guy. And he makes it really simple.
Right.
So, for instance, if you're not a real hard, solid math guy, and I'm not anymore, I was at one time, he makes the math simple to where anybody who doesn't even know that kind of math will understand it.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's experimental algebra. And it's out there. Anyway, so people like that. And so in our magic stuff, this is what we've gone into a lot. And then there's the different models. There's the spirit model, for example. There is the information model. There's the psychological model. These are all different models of magic that people can follow. Like some people are totally into voodoo and Santeria and those types of traditions.
All about that.
And that's a spirit. That involves spirit.
Invoking.
And
A
well,
little bit.
it's a spirit. It's spirit.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with spirits.
Yeah.
And then you have
Rituals.
the Catholic religion, the Roman Catholic religion, is a spirit model of magic.
Right.
All their rituals are magical rituals.
What about alchemy?
Alchemy is part of magic. It can be part of magic. Alchemy is pretty interesting because that was where they wanted to turn lead into gold.
Of course.
That was the whole idea behind alchemy. But then out of that came whole spiritual disciplines. And in the Far East, for instance, in Tibetan Buddhism and also in Taoism, the alchemy is in the body, like the chakras.
Right.
And so these are different alchemical states in the body
Right.
that you can actually go through. I went through a couple of actual courses on all this.
Your body's chakras.
That's correct.
Right.
And each one of them correspond to a different set, of values or levels of consciousness, things like that. But anyway, but there's an alchemy involved there as well. And in the in the Taoist tradition, and in the tantric traditions, that's all involved with sexuality.
Okay.
Say it again.
In the tantric traditions, alchemy is involved with sexuality. The body alchemy
Okay.
involves sexuality. Whether it's just using the sexual circuits in the body to produce energy and use the energy, or whether it's actually having sex and getting the energy from that.
Okay.
You like that idea already.
Oh yeah, keep my feet on the ground.
You're making magic all the time. So
You
anyway.
funny.
Well, when you think about it, like there was a period of years where I was in a couple different relationships where I dedicated every sexual orgasm as an act of magic.
Okay.
Every orgasm, that I had was used in an act of magic. For years, I did that. And you know what?
For
I got
years.
good results. I got good results.
You got good feedback, huh?
Yeah, I had good results.
This motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, in the pact where I'm from, we call ourselves sex magicians.
Okay, Mondo.
But I don't.
You don't. Okay.
No, I don't.
Aw,
No,
Mondo's humble.
I'm not humble. I'm just a humble. I'm just a practitioner. Okay.
Practitioner.
I'm a practitioner.
Okay.
So because people get their egos all blown out of fucking, like, oh, look at me, I'm God. I have a 14-inch cock and an 18-foot wingspan. It's like, so what?
You know what? Sometimes we still sit on our balls by accident.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you ain't nothing special.
Yeah, so, the fucking ego's out of the way. Now, we're not on the card for Friday night, so we don't need to have a big, a bluster ego. Well, in some things, that's very important to have. That's part of the shtick.
Yes.
In some things.
Magic.
In magic, no, I don't think. But there are people that use it that way. There's so much in that. I mean,
would magic be considered more of a mental and less physical?
No.
No.
Well, depending upon where you're coming, there's people that we call armchair magicians. Okay. Now, back in the days of the Great Flame Wars.
The Flame Wars.
The Great Internet Flame Wars, when you think trolls were bad? Fuck, we were fire-breathing entities.
Usually that's on Tuesday.
Yeah. Some of them got real famous on some blogs. Anyway, so that was a big thing. We all these armchair magicians. They think sitting in there wherever they sit that they're doing magic, and that's the way you do it. Okay, hey, you know what? If they do it and they get results and they're happy with the results.
Congress, that sounds like.
But the thing of it is most of them don't do anything. They just sit there, and they don't get any results because they don't do anything.
Sounds like Congress to me.
Yep.
Shit, we still did it then.
Then you got what we call the get-ard magicians.
Get-ard magicians.
The G-I-T-A-R-D. Get-ard magicians who fucking do shit. Shit happens.
Wow.
So the way we say it is, what is it? I'll remember the slogan. It's a pretty good one.
Okay.
It's like, oh yeah, have a little fun, do a little magic, help a few people along the way, and create a little chaos.
That's on a T-shirt.
Yeah, well,
somebody
I know from long ago came up with that about 30. Oh yeah,
it needs to come back.
So the just do it, that just do it. Nike just do it. That came from one of my mentors who has books on the shelf over here.
Oh, okay.
Dr. Christopher Hyatt, way back in the early 70s. He came up with that. So these are the kind of things that happen with magicians. Magicians do all kinds of shit, So there you go. And that's, if we come back and do another one on some more stuff later. Okay. And maybe we'll get Andre in to do one with me.
Okay.
For like 20 minutes or something.
That'd be cool.
Because that's where we're at right now. It's a good uneven number, 23-11. I think I'm going to say